Hi guys, and welcome to the first ever SFF Speak Out podcast. Now, for those of you who don't know me already, I'm SamFranFanAD, and you can find me on YouTube and Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put the links below in the description, so please go check me out, and if you enjoy, subscribe to the podcast as well. So, we're before the NFL season, and I can't believe it, we've made it. The last Sunday without football is gone until February. I never thought I'd make it this far. I don't know about you guys, but it's crazy to think we're finally there. Now, it is before the NFL season, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet as well, because this is my first podcast. So please let me know what you think, however, below. Now, the college football season has begun, and there were some really big plays, big moments, and it was a really good start to the season. One thing I wanted to address quickly, especially with all the draft prospects that we can start looking at, is Deandre Francois. In the FSU game, we saw him go down, and it's now been announced that he'll be out for the season with an injured patella tendon. This is really sad, not just for FSU as a team, but also for Deandre. You've got to feel sorry for him. This is his career, his future, and he's out for the season, so we wish him all the best with his recovery, as I'm sure you guys would as well. On a side note, from that game, the Alabama defense was as stifling as ever, and FSU really struggled to mount much offense against them. Also, something I noticed were the Alabama running backs. Both looked great. Both Harris and Scarborough both combined for 113 yards and a touchdown, as well as a ton of yards after contact. They look formidable and could be coming straight back for that national championship. Another impressive performer from the first week was JT Barrett. He looked really exciting. Just to give you some of his stats, he was 20 of 35, that's a 57.1% completion rate, for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns, with an 8.7 average yard per pass. He also added to this 13 rushes for 61 yards, which is a 4.7 average, and a touchdown. A few things I noticed him doing really well that was really nice to see was he was playing smarter. He was taking slides, he was sliding, not taking hits or any unnecessary risks, which we've seen him do in the past. Also, he seems to have a great connection on the wheel route, either to running backs or a wide receiver coming out of the backfield. He seems to get that accuracy dead on point. He almost reminds me of a bit of an Alex Smith. He's got good athleticism, he throws those kind of routes really well also, and he could be someone to watch as the season goes on and potentially be a high draft pick. Now, anyone who saw the Michigan game, the Michigan and Florida, this was a really close and exciting game. However, the Michigan quarterback, Wilson Speight, it seemed like was trying to single-handedly lose them the game. He threw 2 pick sixes early on. However, the run game, receivers and defense stepped up, and they managed to beat out Florida in the end by a good margin, despite the close start. The quarterback for Florida, Malik Zaire, struggled with getting his feet set a few times, is something I noticed, and even one time this ended up with a fumble. So something to watch out for. Perhaps it was just bad turf, bad cleats, you don't know, but something to watch is his footwork as he continues to progress. Now, here's a big one. National champions, Clemson University, have just started Kelly Bryant. Now, he looks very similar to a Deshaun Watson. He's got great athleticism and showed a lot of promise in his debut. He's a really good athlete, and we saw this in a lot of different areas. He took off a few times and made some really nice runs. However, you can see he's got a way to go with his decision making, but he's young and has plenty of time to develop. His throwing's not perhaps his strong point, and he'll have to keep working on that, but you can see him developing into a brilliant quarterback in the future. Another similar situation is Milan Richard, the tight end for Clemson. If you didn't know already, he's the nephew of the great Herschel Walker, and he showed flashes of great speed when he was given the ball. However, something I noticed was his awareness and fundamentals. You saw him burst down the sideline with great speed early in the game, and then later fumble. Fortunately for him, it went out of bounds. Again, he made a really nice sideline grab later in the game, only for it to be called back, as it turns out he had run out of bounds on the route. So it's just little things. He's got a lot of potential that you can see there, but little things to work on, and I'm sure he'll progress into a very good tight end. And if he's anything like his uncle Herschel Walker, well, we can see his legend rising in years to come. Now finally, how could I not talk about this? Josh Rosen. What a comeback he led against Texas A&M. Now, just to give you a bit of background, there's been a lot of hate on Josh Rosen, including in-house hate. Now I say in-house hate because it's come from his teammates, people on the team, people around the team. It's not just been from outside organisation. However, week 1 he came out with something to prove. After a not so impressive first 3 quarters and UCLA down to Texas A&M by 34 points, he threw 4 touchdowns just in the 4th quarter. Now, a few things I noticed that he does really well as a quarterback is he has great shoulder and pump fakes, and they're perfectly timed with the route running, and he opened up his receivers a few times by using these. It's just enough to draw the defender, make them pause, think about what's going on, which gets the receiver open and he can make the throw. Now, let's be honest, it wasn't a mistake-free few drives if you watch them. He was nearly picked early on, and it went through the defender's hands. I think even the wide receiver was surprised when it landed in his hands and he ran into the end zone for the catch. However, like every comeback, you need some things to go your way. There were a few throws like this that were 50-50, or in that case, should have been intercepted. However, you've got to give some leeway because most good comebacks have a few lucky moments in them. Now, another thing I did notice is he was rushing and a few times got called for a false start as he hadn't allowed his teammates to set. So this is something to watch, just keeping that calmness and composure. Now, having said that, I mentioned those lucky comeback moments. You've got to give him credit where credit's due. There was one where he was under pressure, and just to get the ball off accurately near any receivers in the end zone was impressive. Now, it was thrown up a bit, but his man came down with the catch, and it was a brilliant throw. So his final stats for the 4th quarter was he was 19 of 26 for 292 yards, that's 73.1%, with an average of 11.2 yards per pass and 4 touchdowns. This might arguably be the greatest comeback in college football in history. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. But it's something to watch out, and he could also be a potential first-round pick when he decides to get drafted. Despite these issues that his teammates might have with him and other people might have with him, he really showed that he can get it done at a high level. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe. Please hit the like and let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate all the support you guys give, and thanks as always.